Jack, thanks very much for joining us again today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about this season and how much you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, how have you found it, and how much are you looking forward to kicking on next season?
Yeah, it's been a good season. A couple ups and downs, especially at the start. But sort of I've kicked on this season, which has been good. Sort of playing with the 18s, 23s. So it's something that I want to sort of take into next season and keep pushing on. Yeah.
And I've got to mention, obviously, your incredible family history.
Yeah.
You know, Skilly Williams, you played over 400 games for the club,
Yeah.
and then Reg Williams Jnr.
Yeah.
and Daniel Grieves. You know, what is that like to have that sort of prestige associated with your family name?
Yeah, it's really good. It's something that I've obviously taken a look at, and obviously I've been told by my family members of stories and stuff. And obviously I still speak to my uncle now about when his time at the club and stuff. It's it's definitely something I think about. I try not to think about it too much because I don't want to add that sort of pressure. But yeah, it's definitely something that I sort of consider, and yeah, it's good.
Do you use it as sort of motivation as well?
Yeah, a little bit, to sort of focus on what they've done and sort of try and make my own stamp on that. I guess it is motivation a little bit, sort of looking at what they've done and what they've accomplished playing for the club, and it's something that I want to sort of achieve as well.
You mentioned your uncle, Daniel Grieves. You know, do you get a chance to speak to him and him give you some advice about things like this season and next?
Yeah. So my uncle played in midfield, and I've played in midfield a little bit this season as well. So it's been nice to sort of have a few chats with him, sort of get his perspective on the game and stuff, and sort of give me a few tips on where he thinks I should improve, or sort of taking his experience, learn from what he had played, and sort of give me those sort of tips and extra help to sort of help. When I'm playing, so yeah, it's something that I speak to him a lot. Yeah.
You mentioned your dad was a striker as well.
Yeah, my dad played centre forward. He played for Wimbledon, so it's obviously nice to sort of speak about what he's done. And I guess I don't really use it too much as competition, but it's obviously something when he tells me stories about stuff, and then sort of trying to create this same thing on the pitch. So it's sort of taking stuff that he and my uncle have done and then putting that onto the pitch as well.
And of course, your own story. You're a Watford fan. Well, how amazing is that then to wear the Watford jersey and to continue that legacy that obviously your family still has? Yeah,
it's really good. It's obviously when you're playing as a young lad and you're growing up playing for the club you support. It's everything you sort of dream about, playing for the first team and stuff, and being part of the academy for quite a long time is something that I'm quite proud of, and obviously playing for the club is everything I want to do. So yeah, it's been good growing up as a Watford supporter while playing at the club as well.
Do you have any memories from your early days when you were a Watford fan obviously at Vicarage Road? Yeah.
So there's a few of obviously the playoffs and stuff like that, and then the big one was when Dini scored at home. That was really good.
Was that I want to be that?
Yeah. Dini was sort of, I think everyone that's sort of my age that was a Watford supporter idolised him sort of growing up. So it's good sort of, and I was obviously playing as a striker, so taking stuff from his game, putting it into mine. Yeah, he was someone I definitely looked up to.
Is it a bit surreal now, having been in the stands, having been a fan yourself now, to now being a player? You said, obviously, you mentioned you were on the bench against Everton.
Yeah. It was quite surreal, sort of going from being in the stands and then you're running down the touchline, warming up and stuff, and it's quite a weird moment for me because obviously I'm used to just sitting in the stands watching the players go out, and then obviously I'm in that position now. So it's something that it was quite surreal for me, but I really enjoyed it.
All right, Jack, so let's talk about your first spell at the club.
Yep.
What do you remember, joining? You said you were 8 years old. What do you remember from that?
Yeah, I remember I'd been on trial originally I was on trial for 6 weeks, but then I had a 2-week extra period because I think they weren't too sure, and then I signed when I was 8, so it was about November-ish 2013. So that was I have a few memories of signing, coming home, and obviously my family were obviously happy and everything, so yeah, it was good.
And then of course moving on to that, it was quite a successful period. You mentioned obviously 2 hat-tricks, one against Swansea, one against Manchester United.
Yeah.
What were the moments like that like, especially for a young Watford fan?
It was brilliant actually. I remember the first goal I scored against United. When I scored, I remember that I didn't really know what to do because obviously I'd been a Watford fan my whole life, and scoring at Vicarage Road where I'd watched all these players play, it was quite a surreal moment.
And then you did eventually get released.
Yeah.
Was it under 14s?
Yeah, under 14s. Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that and what that was like?
Yeah, it was a really tough period for me. It was like, obviously when they told me, it was quite sad. I actually broke down in tears and stuff, because obviously like, playing for your club is like playing for Watford was everything to me. So, but yeah, I remember I was really struggling that season with like confidence issues and stuff like that. So it was really hard to sort of pick myself back up after being told that I wasn't going to be with the club anymore. Looking back on it now, it probably helped me, because obviously like taking time out was probably something that I needed to help me be the player that I sort of am now. So in the long run, I think it sort of helped me, but obviously at the time it's nothing you really want to hear, like being told you're not needed by the club anymore.
How important were your family, especially in that moment?
Yeah, very, very important. My parents and my two brothers, Ben and Ollie, they were very important. My dad was sort of telling me how to get better when I was playing away from Watford. Obviously my mum helped me a lot with like the sort of mental aspects of it, trying to help me like pick myself back up, and my brothers, they were very important as well, sort of trying to keep me going.
And that time period, of course, when you were away from Watford, what did you get up to? What did you do?
I went on trial at Barnet, but that was still in like the period where I was really struggling. So I didn't get signed there, and then I just dropped back into Sunday League football. That was really good. I had a few teammates there that really helped me out and stuff, and they helped me build my confidence back up.
And then, of course, you actually re-signed then with Watford.
Yeah.
What was that like? How did that come about? And what were the emotions, really?
Yeah, so I'd been playing away, and then my scout, Jason Grace, he had been coming to watch a couple of my games while I'd been away. And my dad actually stayed in contact with Armin, because Armin was still the coach of our age group at the time. And they sort of both helped me get back in, and I came back in for a trial game. Done well in that, and then they offered me like an 8-week trial. When they actually told me that they'd be signing me on, it was a really good feeling, like being told that you're back with the club. I'm back with teammates that I'd seen before. So it was just being back in that environment was really good. It was a really good time for me. Yeah.
Was it quite emotional? What was the family like?
Yeah, it was really emotional. I remember when they offered me my scholarship. After it, my mum was crying. My dad was obviously really happy. So, like seeing me go from struggling as a 14-year-old to sort of getting that sort of joy as a 16-year-old was something that it was really good for me. Something I enjoyed. Yeah.
That mental resilience is so important, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you can't let it get to you too much, because that will affect your performances wherever you go. So I sort of got my head down and was like, yeah, it's happened now, so I've got to try and work my way back up.
So Jack, let's talk a little bit about this season.
Yeah.
How did it all start, and how did it go?
I had quite a tough start to the season. I struggled with a little bit of injuries, and then I was playing down for a bit to sort of like get my fitness and stuff back up. So that was a little bit of a tough time at the start, and then sort of as we got into the season, I was making my way through into the 18s, and then I was playing regularly with them. So that was like my main target for the season, to sort of make sure I'm playing regularly with the 18s, and then obviously being told that I'm stepping up with the 23s and stuff. That was something that was really good to hear as well, and something that the coaches Tom, Omar and Shoza really helped me with. And obviously being on the bench for the first team is something that I'll never forget as well. That was really good.
How were you told? Where did you find out? How did you react?
It's quite a story actually. I was actually at college for like the day when it happened. So I'd been at college from about 9 until 2ish, and then I got back and I was just sitting on my sofa. Omar called me. You need to get yourself down to the stadium for 6 o'clock because you'd be involved with the first team. Obviously me and Adrian were there together, and they told us that we were on the bench. So yeah, it was a really emotional day. Obviously going from like my story from like being released and stuff to then actually being on the bench in a Premier League game is something that I hadn't even thought of like for this season, but it was something that was really good. Yeah.
What was that like when you told the family?
It was really emotional actually, because none of my family were at the house. It was just me. So my dad and my mum were at work, and my two brothers were out. So I called my dad straight away, and I told him about it, and he couldn't believe it. He thought I was joking at first, and then he just told me like just calm down, stay relaxed, just do what you can, do your normal pre-game routine, make sure you've got everything. And I called my mum as well. She sort of said the same thing. So yeah, they were just sort of trying to calm me down, because obviously in that situation I was buzzing. So,
any first team players who were sort of very helpful, not just on that day, but in terms of maybe in general?
Yeah, so Dan Gosling was someone that actually stuck out to me, because I'd spoken to him in training before. So I tried to take stuff what he was doing before the game, what he was doing in training, putting that into my game. So he's someone that I had spoken to before the game and stuff.
And then in terms of looking back on the season as a whole, you know, how much did you enjoy it? How much did you learn? And then kicking on in the future, how much are you looking forward to getting started for the next one?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved this season. It's like, obviously I've exceeded most of my goals that I had for this season. So yeah, it's been a really enjoyable experience. Obviously coming into first time full-time football. So I've obviously learned a lot, like being in that full-time environment. And yeah, I just want to sort of take this flow from this season and take it into next season. Sort of don't want to take my foot off the gas really, and just sort of keep pushing. And yeah, hopefully work towards playing in the first team. That's sort of the main goal.